In this video, you will learn about cylinders and how to calculate the surface area and volume of a cylinder. A cylinder is a prism-like figure, except for that it has the two parallel bases, and the difference that is key here is that the bases are circles. Okay, and so the height, altitude, right cylinder, oblique cylinder all have the exact same meaning as before. Now, in order to calculate the area of a cylinder, the first thing we have to visualize is in order to calculate the lateral area, you almost want to think of it as like you're unrolling your wrapper around a cylinder. So the area of the resulting rectangle is what we call the lateral area. And this is like the label of an area of a can, which for example, if you think of like if you were to unwrap a soup can or something along those lines, it would form a rectangular shape. So the surface area is still the lateral area plus the sum of those two bases. However, the key takeaway from this slide is that lateral area for a cylinder is a rectangle. Now, in order to calculate our surface area and lateral area for a cylinder, first let's talk about the lateral area. The lateral area of a cylinder is still a rectangle. This side on the left, or the vertical side, is still the height. And then the other side of our rectangle is the distance around our circle, or the distance around our base, which is in our terms, the circumference. So if I were to calculate the lateral area equals the circumference times the height. Now we've already refreshed that the circumference formula is equal that the circumference equals 2 pi r, or pi times diameter, which allows us to, if you want to simplify the lateral area formula, you could say that lateral area equals 2 pi r times the height, or the lateral area equals pi times the diameter times the height. However, primarily, the key thing is that we need to remember that your lateral area is the circumference times the height. Now, in putting it all together, your formula for surface area is still the lateral area plus 2 times the area of the base. However, because it is a circle, or it has a circle and it's a cylinder restricting our base shape, we can simplify it a little bit more so that our surface area equals the circumference times the height plus 2 times the area of a circle is always pi r squared. So it's 2 times pi r squared. But again, the key takeaway is yes, lateral area is a rectangle. It's a little different, but the surface area formula is identical. Now, in order to calculate the surface area and lateral area of a cylinder, most of our calculations are going to be identical as what we did with a prism, just with different shapes. So first thing we want to do is identify the base. Now again, the base has to be, if there's any shape other than a rectangle, that is our base. So in this case, our base is our two circles. So if I want to find the area of the base, and if I redraw it, it's my circle with a radius of 3. So the area of the base is pi times the radius squared. So if I substitute into the formula, it's pi times 3 squared, and we are going to leave our answer in terms of pi, meaning we are going to treat pi like a variable and just leave it as a part of our answer. So if I simplify this, this becomes pi times 9. However, rather writing it as, this would be like considering x times 9, we are going to rewrite it as the base equals 9 pi centimeters squared. Now for the lateral area, again, we talked about the fact that the lateral area is a rectangle where this is the height and this is the circumference. For the case of this cylinder, the height is 10, so I can put a 10 on this side, and the circumference is, depending upon which formula you use, let's say I use the radius, it's 2 pi times the radius, which is 3, and if I multiply the 2 and 3, leaving it in terms of pi, I get that my circumference is 6 pi. So my circumference here is 6 pi. So if I calculate the lateral area, again, this is a rectangle. So lateral area equals base times height, so 10 times 6 pi, and again, treating the pi as a variable, 10 times 6 is 60, so my answer is 60 pi centimeters squared. So my lateral area is 60 pi. Now putting this all back together for surface area, our surface area is lateral area plus 2 times the area of the base. So in this case, surface area equals the lateral area is 60 pi plus 2 times the area of the base is 9 pi. So if I simplify that, it gives me 60 pi plus 2 times 9 pi is 18 pi. And if I combine like terms, the 60 and 18 combine, so it becomes 78 pi centimeters squared is our final surface area. Now, had the question only asked for lateral area, your answer would have been just 60 pi. For our next example, we are finding a surface area and lateral area of a cylinder. So again, if I first identify my base, the base is a circle, and it gives us the distance all the way across, which is 16. This is what we call the diameter of the circle, which is 16. So if I were to find the radius is half the diameter. So this gives us that the radius is 8. So the area of the base is pi times 8 squared. So the base, leaving our answer in terms of pi, is 64 pi centimeters squared. Now the lateral area, as we discussed before, is a rectangle where this side is the height and this side is the circumference. So the height of this shape is the distance between the bases, which in this case is 11, and the circumference equals, again, if I use the formula, let's say now I decide to use pi times diameter, again, it's totally up to you. This gives me pi times 16, so your circumference is 16 pi. So if I calculate the lateral area equals 16 pi times 11, and if you multiply 16 times 11, again, leaving it in terms of pi, it gives you a lateral area of 176 pi centimeters squared. And again, if the problem were asking for your lateral area, this would be your final answer. However, this problem asks us to go a step further and calculate the surface area. So surface area equals the lateral area plus 2 times the area of the base. So if I substitute into the formula, the lateral area is 176 pi plus 2 times the area of the base is 64 pi. So if I simplify that, the 2 times 64 pi gives me 128 pi, so I get 176 pi plus 128 pi. And if I combine the 128 with the 176, I get a final answer of 304 pi centimeters squared. Now, to determine the volume of a cylinder, our general formula is essentially the same as it was for a prism. So the volume equals the area of the base times the height. However, now our base is always a circle, so our volume of the base is always pi r squared. So I can simplify my formula, if we like, pi r squared times the height. However, essentially, the key takeaway here is yes, everything is changing ever so slightly, but the formula for the volume of a cylinder is identical to the general formula for the volume of a prism. Now, in order to calculate the volume of the cylinder, we first have to identify the bases. So if I identify my bases, they are my two circles because I'm dealing with a cylinder. So if I substitute into the form, if I redraw my base and substitute into our area of the base formula, it's a circle with a radius of 3. So the area of the base is pi times 3 squared. So the area of the base is 9 pi. Now if I want to find the volume, it's the area of the base times the height. So in this case, the volume equals the base area is 9 pi times the height is the distance between the two bases or the two circles, which is 10. So the volume is 90 pi centimeters cubed. In the next scenario, if I were to ask to calculate the volume of this cylinder, I first have to identify my bases, which are both circles. And then I first have to find the area of the base. So if I redraw the base, it's a circle with a diameter of 16. So since the diameter is 16, I can simplify that to find that my radius is 8. So the area of the base is pi times the radius squared. So the area of the base is 64 pi. Now if I want to find the volume, it's the area of the base times the height. So the volume equals the area of the base is 64 pi times the height is the distance between the circles or the bases, which is 11. So if you plug that in, 64 times 11 gives us 704. So your answer is 704 pi centimeters cubed.